Hi, I'd like to share with you the story of my recent backpacking trip that was both a success and a major failure. I haven't been backpacking since I was a Boy Scout about 15 years ago. I've done some camping along the way, but haven't had the chance to do any backpacking. With my birthday coming up, I decided I wanted to get back into it. I spent a few weeks buying the gear I didn't have and researching where I wanted to go. I woke up the morning of the hike with some intestinal pain. I knew at this point that the right decision was to stay home under normal circumstances. But I had spent so much time building up to it. My wife took off of work to stay with the kids. It was now or it would be a pain to reschedule. I decided to go anyways. I arrived at the trailhead at about 10 a.m. and started hiking. I quickly realized that even though the crunchy leaves were beautiful and sounded so nice, they were hiding sticks and rocks. While I was hiking, these obstacles would hurt my ankles as I would step on them. For a seasoned hiker, this might not have been an issue. For someone who has been working from home for years and living a pretty inactive lifestyle, it was hard. I knew I should have built up to it, but I didn't, and here I was. On top of this, my backpack was very uncomfortable and very poorly fitted. It's about 15 years old, back from my Boy Scout days. I took plenty of breaks, but knew I was having a tough time. By the time I got to camp, all of these issues had compounded, and I was actually shaking. I knew I was in trouble at this point, but I still set up camp. I drank some water with electrolytes and made dinner. I wasn't eating it though, I had no appetite. At this point, I decided to wind down to sleep, even though it was really early. I had some movies downloaded on my phone, which was helpful because it started getting dark at 3:30 and was completely dark shortly after. I laid in my tent in the dark and started paying more attention to my body. As I did, I realized that I was feeling even worse than I thought. I was looking at hiking another 15 miles tomorrow and then 10 more back to my car the next day. At this point, I decided that I wasn't well enough for all of that, so I would hike the 3-mile shortcut in the morning back to my car. But then I started feeling worse and worse. I could barely move my hips. I tried stretching, rolling. I knew that as stiff as they were now, they would be stiffer in the morning. The 3 miles would be much better to do now than later when I couldn't walk. At about 5:30, I made the decision to pack up and head out. Before I left on my hike, I had downloaded some new podcasts to listen to along the trail. I was listening to one named Going Wild with Dr. R5.2. She talked about an opportunity she had to begin a research class in Central Africa studying lowland gorillas. She spent a lot of time leading up, planning the trip, getting all the necessary funding, jumping through all the hoops, and finally getting there. Upon completion of the trip, her university offered her the opportunity to return with a whole class to do the class that she had designed. So after all of this, she got everything she wanted and found herself not wanting to do the class. And what I really get from this is that it's great to push ourselves and to put ourselves in situations that make us uncomfortable. We should always be doing that in our lives as humans. But at the same time, it is okay to take a break and to do the less challenging thing if it makes you happier. And so here I found myself hiking these 3 miles back to my car and thinking, it's okay if I'm not doing the most challenging thing, because I really enjoyed the time that I had. I quickly threw all of my gear into my backpack and started hiking in complete darkness. Well, I know this wasn't the best decision to make when you look at it on its own. I caught a glimpse of the trail earlier. It was marked with reflective markers, so it was actually easier to see those with a flashlight in the dark than in sunlight. Also, the trail was wide enough for a side-by-side ATV, so it would be very easy to follow. With all of these things in mind, I hiked out. Those 3 miles were harder than the previous 10 I had walked that day. I got to my car in pain and leaned against it for a while to at least take in the beauty of the fully clear sky. I might have even been able to see the Milky Way faintly. It reminded me of the reason that I wanted to backpack in the first place. We live in such a beautiful world. We're all running around doing things that are not important. Spending time hiking reminds us of what is important. Being alive and experiencing the immense beauty of the planet we are in. While this hike was somewhat of a failure, I know I made the right decision to leave early, and I'm still glad I went. It relit a fire inside that I forgot I had. This was the first hike in years, but I'm already planning the next one, and the next one, and the next. I cannot wait to get back out.